G'day everybody, welcome back to Sprouts Tarot. So today I've got a rather unusual reading for everybody. This is going to be a Jungian psychology reading on the Anima and the Animus. So I do dabble in Jungian psychology, and for those of you who also dabble in this, you will know that for the male, in order for him to become whole, he must integrate his anima, which is the feminine aspect, in himself. And for us females, women, if we want to become whole, we must integrate the animus, which is the masculine component in our psyche. And so the first two lines here are the anima. So this is just an idea that I have, okay? So in tarot, basically there are four suits, and the earth and water suits are known to be feminine or female suits or energies. And the wand and the sword, which are fire and air, they're known to be the masculine components. So over here, we've got the anima. And this is basically for male viewers to choose from. And this side is the animus, which is for the female viewers to choose from. So I'm not going to go in depth. Don't worry so much about what you see here, because this is only the major arcana energies of the tarot that I'm using to accompany the anima and the animus. So basically, if you are a male viewer, these two are your choices, number one, number two. And if you are a female viewer, these are your two choices, group 3, group 4. Okay, so just take your time, see which pile resonates with you the most, and just click on the timestamp below to find your group. See you in a little while. Oh, welcome back, group 1. So if you pick this combination, this is what your anima or your feminine side wants to ask you to integrate, and that is the firm belief that life or any problems will resolve themselves, especially through the element of time. Somehow things will just fix themselves, and that virtue of having patience for even changes that you don't see, okay, but to believe that change is in fact happening, even if you're not the first mover, is something that your anima really wants you to understand. And why she wants you to understand that is because most likely this Tower card represents maybe your fair share of challenges or disturbances or obstacles in life. So this Tower card is basically the rupture of a belief system, or even a system that you've set up, okay, regarding business or something that wasn't necessarily built on a very stable foundation. And hence, if you get any disturbance, then things become movable, they break. And the higher that you go, the more subject to this vulnerability you'll have. So this, generally in life, if we are very proactive in how we structure our lives, the way that we choose to live, whenever we do see problems, we tend to want to fix it quickly. And your animus is asking you to exercise patience, because there are some things in life, some problems which occur that you can't immediately pounce on to fix, because there's a timing mechanism that you need in order for things to evolve. And I think that's the primal virtue that she wants to impart to you. And I've accompanied this reading with an artistic archetype, an artist archetype, and the one who came out was Vincent van Gogh. So I only know his story in the same way that I think most of us do, in that he was just a little bit eclectic. He suffered his fair share of obstacles and challenges. He fell in love numerous times. Most of it was unrequited. So he had like, he was famous for crushes basically. So we know what happened with his ear. And during his time when he was alive, his particular brand of genius or talent was not really recognized, okay? So he became famous posthumously. So it wasn't in his lifetime. And this particular card, okay, the life message is, if committed, stay committed. And hence, I think this is what your Animus wants, and so your Anima wants you to know, that things will go wrong, but if you really do have your eyes set on a particular prize, then it is in your best interest to pursue that despite having these obstacles. And most of these obstacles will resolve themselves with time and patience. Okay, so at work, posthumous recognition requires a paper trail. So if you are experiencing work problems, document everything. Okay, so it's important to have evidence. It's important to keep a log or a journal of some sort, so that maybe your ideas or your thoughts are actually grounded in something tangible that you can later show people. And the inspiration is, use the daylight to face the night. Okay, that's very profound. So absorb what you can, the positive energies that you get from other people, and during times in which you are low, you can use that light source, okay, that inner glow or happiness or self-confidence in order to guide you through the rougher patches in life. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get a tarot reading on basically why your Anima, I mean, even though it's pretty much self-explanatory here about the rocking of the foundation, why does she specifically want you to know this, especially during now? Okay, so what is happening in your life presently in order for you to click onto this reading and for your Anima to want to tell you this directly? Okay, so let's see, what is the sequence here? Okay, so we're going to get the significator card and put it under Vincent. Okay, beautiful. All right, now let's see, what is the story currently? Okay, there we go. Now let's see how many cards I can fit in here. And I've got a little bit of a mood lighting going on here because this is a reading that I think is good for mood lighting. Okay. Beautiful. Oh, we've got a page here, so I need to get a message for you. Let's see what's at the bottom of the deck. 6 of Cups. Very nice. Okay, so now we need to get a message. So I'm going to get my Oracle advice cards. Oops, I just dropped one. Wait a second. Okay, so now what does the Page of Wands want us to know? So your Page of Wands here looks very happy. She's already got the music thing going on, so it's a positive message. Okay, so what does the Page of Wands want Group 1 to know? What's the message from the Page of Wands? Okay. Oh, yeah, it's gonna fall. All right, so let's see. Can we see this? Okay, passage. Your current situation is a means to an end. You are making the uncertain voyage to a new world. Enjoy the discoveries as you go. Beautiful card. Okay, so what it looks like here. Okay, so if committed, stay committed. Okay, what it appears though right now, and part of what your Anima wants you to know, is that what is underlying maybe this current phase in your life is, like I said, it just matches the Tower, building a life on the foundation of a house of cards. And so when you build something on using a foundation which is that fragile, it is very subject to external conditions which can break it down. So as you can imagine, House of Cards, even if you get like a stronger breeze, it just crumbles down. So if you have built some sort of life around this element, then it is really hard to grow unless you control everything around you. So this means controlling your partner, if you do have a boss, controlling your boss, even controlling the weather, controlling supermarket prices, you know, to make sure that eggs don't become $14, $15 a dozen, so you can have your protein breakfast. So if you have to control that many elements in order to make your, to sustain a lifestyle, that's not going to be the answer for the long term. So currently what has happened very likely is that this foundation has been shook somewhat because there is definitely heartache there. Okay, so over here it feels as though something has pierced a very sensitive part of yourself, and you feel as though you've lost control. You feel as though you're reaching out and asking people for help, but you're kind of coiled up. It seems as though it's kind of like a whirlwind of emotions and nobody is responding to this particular cry that you have, that you're calling out for others to give you aid. Because if you take a look at this card, I hope you can see that, right? The hand is outreached, obviously shouting, but there's no correspondence with that. So it currently does look like you are in some sort of predicament at the moment. The antidote to that is you've got to work on yourself. So the underlying card here is the Eight of Pentacles. So you can see she's in deep meditation. She's surrounded by jewelry of some sort. But this kind of treasure or jewelry is not material. This is in terms of self. Okay, so growing yourself spiritually, especially where the abundance or what you valuable, what is a treasure to you, all rests within yourself. It doesn't rest in an external kind of it doesn't rest in external validation. And that means buying the latest bling to show people how wealthy you are or how successful you are. It means having inner peace, that you can just sit there and know that you are quote unquote rich. So this is the suggestion to the heartache. And what it seems as though you're currently doing now is you're stepping away. So you've either transitioned over to a new cycle in your life, or you've kind of maybe gone abroad somewhere, because you've got your ships here and it looks like you sailed off. So I mean, you don't literally have to sail off. Like maybe you could just drive interstate, or you can take a plane and go to a nearby country of some sort. But it seems as though you have left this particular situation that has given you anguish, right? Because the wheels of fortune have changed as well in order to allow you to move on to this like new area or new headspace. So things have definitely turned for you. In the future, in the very near future, and this also matches, okay? So if you take a look at the message from the Page of Wands, it could be literally traveling abroad by ship and then having a change in perspective, or it just means allowing this transition of time in order to get your mind to clear. So current situation is a means to an end. You are making the uncertain voyage to a new world. Okay, so things are definitely changing for you. What is this new world going to be about? This new world, so the person who gave you the message, your Anima here, you can see she's actually very free-spirited. And this is what it means here by allowing things to resolve by themselves. clearly she's playing this violin, and she's not, you know, playing like a sad old tune that violinists are renowned for. It seems as though it's more like a gypsy type of number that she's spinning out. So she's clearly in her own element. She's clearly happy. She doesn't really need anything at the moment except for the desire to be happy. And I think that's what is going to take over your emotions of anguish, is the sudden release of the desire simply to be happy, understanding that things will resolve themselves through time. What is coming into your life also is going to be either a physical relationship to represent this anima manifested outwardly, or you are going to come to terms with your anima and incorporate her into your thinking process, in which you become more whole. Okay, because this Two of Cups traditionally is the meeting or beginning of a relationship, and that could mean the beginning of a relationship with your anima to truly understand who she is, so you can become a person who is complete in himself. And if you can't meet the animus, like emotionally, psychologically, it's very likely that a person will enter your life to teach you what this anima is trying to say to you now. Okay, so what is the result of meeting your anima, incorporating her into your reality, either psychologically or through a relationship? You're going to return back to innocence, and you're going to learn how to have fun. And that's something that's very important to do as we become older, because we lose that element of excitement and fun, especially when we are not inebriated. Many adults can only have fun if they're blind drunk, or they're kind of like using some sort of escapism in order to induce this fun element. But this Six of Cups is reminiscent of childhood fun. So it's like the good old fun that you had as kids, where you jumped in puddles and thought that was a blast. Okay, so that's what your anima is basically trying to get you to understand, that life doesn't have to be so tough, because in a lot of instances, time is the healer of all wounds. And so please keep that in mind. So if you are tempted to stress a lot, understand that the feminine aspect of you is asking you to exercise kindness and patience towards yourself, because things will fix themselves eventually if given enough time. And with your particular life course, things will fix themselves. Okay, so that's all I have for you today, and I hope you got some value out of that. But as always, thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye. Okay, welcome back, Group 2. So if you pick this combination, this is going to be your anima that you need to get acquainted with. Okay, so first of all, the base card here is the Four of Cups. Now, this Four of Cups generally connects to either calmness, stability, or stoicism. Okay, so not letting things affect you. And this is on an emotional realm, generally speaking. And the underlying card is the World card. Generally, tarot follows a story format. So right at the beginning of the story, there is a character called the Magician, and the Magician has all the elements that it needs. So air, earth, water, fire. And then from that, the Magician begins his adventure into this spiritual process, which is manifested through life. And at the end of the card, we reach this, the World card. And from the male magician, eventually it morphs to the female embodiment of the World card, in which she traditionally balances two wands, which means she has understood the laws of fate, karma, and change. And this one round of a spiritual evolution has already been completed. So as we can see from this card, it is the same thing. So one cycle has been completed. Okay, so she is now looking forward to the next cycle in life. So this card in itself is perfection. And then this card in itself means stability or stoicism or being poker faced. Things are just stable. Stable can also mean boredom. However, things are definitely stable. Now, I connected this with an artistic archetype, an artist archetype, and who I got was Edward Munich. So this particular artist, I'm not familiar with art. Okay, so I only know like very little about the art world, but apparently his life story in which he chose to express creatively was one of angst and pain. His mother and his sister suffered a premature death, and his father also had some sort of religious obsession. So in his mind, he was probably screaming a lot internally, but outwardly he appeared very calm. And the only way that he could channel this expression, this really fiery, passionate, like explosive energy, was through his art. And this particular picture, apparently it's easily identifiable, and many people can relate to this, especially in today's society where we do have a lot of build-up pressure due to work stress, you know, just modern day living. I mean, and it's more so today because the struggle isn't so much physical, but it is like an emotional, anxiety-ridden society leading us to escape into the virtual world rather than dealing with reality head on. So we've got the life message here. A composed soul is not necessarily a calm one. And the work message, scream into a canvas, not a pillow. So what this means is, if you were to manifest this energy, instead of crying yourself to sleep, turn it into some productive capacity instead of like just dissipating the energy through sadness. And the insight is, ask anxiety to pose for you. So I think we are very familiar with a lot of artists, like, you know, comedians. Apparently, generally speaking, they're quite depressed. However, they manage to undergo this process of sublimation where they can turn something negative into something positive, and then inadvertently, intentionally, as a comedian, they spread joy to the world. And I think we all know that when Beyonce and Jay-Z, I really like Lemonade, by the way, that album, when she was going through all that pain with infidelity, she channeled that into writing and music expression. And I really, really love the song Sandcastles. And I know that she didn't write that, but the whole music video and the beginning, the piano melody, that, and also the crack in her voice partway through the song where she kind of cries a certain lyric out, it just breaks me every single time. And I know that there is some resonance because life has given me, not to that level, but partially I can relate to that. And so I think with this, your anima is trying to get you in touch with the side that does feel pain. And I think maybe on the front, what you appear like is somebody who is very strong, who is very stable, the rock. And I think your anima is trying to tell you, please release me. Let me have an outlet too. So don't bury me so deep inside that no tear comes from your eye, because it means my tears are not allowed to flow either. So that's the general impression that I get. Now we're going to consult the tarot, and basically see what is your current situation to trigger off this particular message from your anima. Because if you manage to find my obscure little video and you manage to be excited enough to click on, then at this stage, I mean, I'm planning to have a few years of no progress. So we're going to have a very intimate party of only a few who will ever watch this part of my journey anyway. So this might specifically be tailored to you. So first of all, I need a significator for group 2. So please tell me, what is group 2's significator for this reading? Planes are flying. I can hear planes. Maybe it's going to come through in this video. But yeah, oh, it's very loud. And there goes the expression. That was a plane expressing itself. And look, look, look. What I'm telling you about tarot. Look, there's a reluctance to come out. Usually I'll get a flyer. And this is what it means by the suppression of emotions. Okay, maybe you are putting on a very big poker face. Because, okay, please give me a significator if you can. Please shorten this timeline and come out. Okay, finally. Okay, Page of Swords, beautiful. And you've got the spiritual messenger as well. You're sitting on top of the books. The ideas are flowing. So maybe you are already beginning to break down this wall that you have through research. There are birds that have already taken flight, liberated. And you are looking ahead. And you're having this really weird position. Take a look at this. Her head's kind of on back to front. So you're taking a new perspective in life now. You're seeing things in a different way. You're looking to the past and trying to gain insight. Because you notice that you're going around in the same concentric circle. And now you're looking back. You're trying to do shadow work by yourself, I think, in some form or another anyway. You've got your research books here. And finally, you've turned around to see what you've left behind, or the trail that you've walked to get to the present place, to where you are, so that you can actually make a new change to go forward. And you've got a spiritual messenger. Generally, blackbirds are. So, and it's also a page, which means you'll need a message anyway, which I'm going to get. Okay, let's see. What is this all about? Oh, you are leaving. Yep, you're leaving. You're embarking on a new journey already. Oh, taking back in command. Oh, you got 2 pages. Oh, yeah, you need a message. Wow, you've got all these 6s going. Look, 6 of Pentacles, 6 of Swords. Okay, so somebody has given you a lease of life, or, okay, help is on its way, and that's why you're able to leave. Beautiful. Let's see what's at the bottom of the deck. Knight of Cups. Okay, you're moving towards the emotional realm. That is wonderful. I love seeing that. Okay, so first of all, let's get a card, oracle card, for your Page of Swords. Okay. Let's see what's the first message from the Page of Swords, and then I'll need one for the Page of Wands as well. Okay, so what's the message from your significator card? Okay. What do you want to say to group 2, dear Page of Swords? What do you want to say to group 2? Okay, so we got that here. Okay, now, Page of Wands, what would you like to say to group 2? Oh, they're fast. Okay, now let's get my other advice deck. Okay, so what's the general advice for group 2? Since we've got 2 pages, I think messages today abound. Okay, so what is a general message I can get for group 2? Dear Masashi, what message can I get for group 2? Do you have any advice for group 2? Okay, dear Masashi, do you have any advice for group 2? Oh, okay, there you go. Oh, lots of messages for you. Lucky you. Okay, so first of all, let's put that to the side and let's read the message from your significator card. Woo! Lovely. There we go. Real passion. Stop wasting time in dead-end jobs and find your true passion. It's fine to experiment, but don't settle for less than you truly deserve. Okay, here's where the release of feelings. No more stoicism. No more poker face. Okay, let's see what your Page of Wands is going to say. You've got a beautiful, gorgeous jellyfish in the flow. The universe is sending you help. Tap into your inner power and go deeper to create the purposeful life you really want to have. Wow. Okay, now let's get... Okay, wait, let me still keep this to the side. Okay, so remember what we were talking about before. It is the completion, reaching a state of perfection or conclusion to a particular way of being or thinking. For most part, your anima is asking you to express yourself more, because if you suppress this urge to express your feelings, eventually they will eat up a part of you and there will be a void, and it will be difficult to fill. The more you postpone this, basically the bigger the void. Okay, so your anima is asking you to embrace her, and part of embracing her is allowing her to speak, allowing her to cry, allowing her to vent, allowing her to scream, allowing her to dance, even, like anything like that encourages your emotions to flow via any medium. Your anima is asking you to do that. Okay, so like I said, you have been already maybe looking at what has happened in the past, and there's an idea in your head that's burgeoning, right? You've got this flame, it's already ignited, and you're thinking, okay, I've spent all my life being this particular, like acting this particular persona, and this is what it has resulted. I mean, insert your own circumstance. And now you're beginning to think, okay, but if this is all that I'm going to be, am I truly happy? At least that's a question that you're now asking. So in order for you to look ahead, you're looking behind to see what has caused this build-up. And you've realized now that you need passion in your life, and passion through emotional expression. That is what it is. And so this concentric circle, like, you've just been going around and round and round, and you can't seem to get off this particular carousel, this emotional blockage carousel. However, recently you have received some sort of guidance or help, because there is now finally somebody who is coming to give you some sort of balance and to restore your faith in, first of all, kindness, and maybe in trust. Because if you take a look at this card, you see that they're basically two identical girls, right? And they balance each other both in weight, but this one is holding the pentacle. This one doesn't have any, and this one is willing to share. So somebody has definitely entered your life, or even passing by, to allow you to feel as though trust in another person, or in the notion of giving and receiving and taking in life, is a cycle that you can participate in. And so now that has given you at least the courage to start anew. And so this Six of Swords is always leaving an old situation in which basically you've exhausted what you're supposed to learn there, and then you move off. You take what you have and you move to a different area to try to gain or to try to evolve. And that's what you are doing. Right now, you are in this kind of hot air balloon. Well, you maybe just past this stage. This hot air balloon, which has given you a higher perspective on what your life has been thus far. And so, like I said here, you're looking back to try to detect the cycles or the triggers that have made you into that kind of person or a certain type of person. And you're able now to take a higher perspective due to this particular encounter that has restored you, that has restored faith in humanity or friendship or love. And now you are definitely taking back your passion. You are reclaiming your passion in a big way. The opportunity that has presented to you now is allowing you to reclaim the passion, which is good. So this could either be like some sort of maybe job change even, or like an opportunity to engage in something that will allow you to show another side of yourself. So if you take a look at this King of Wands, he's very explosive and he's got like the lion's heart tattooed on his chest, right? And there's a fearlessness, because it looks as though he's wearing some sort of skirt formation here, which means he's just bucking society's trend. Like, it just doesn't matter anymore, because what matters to him now is that he will wield this, and it looks like a big kind of like paintbrush. So you are going to design your own life. You're going to live in the canvas that you are going to paint. And so this is what this King of Wands energy is going to be about. And so here, this Page of Wands is the beginning of this kind of like more impish, frivolous part of yourself, okay? Because as you can see, she's wearing a cheeky grin and she's just having the time of her life, you know, playing the violin on like maybe like a beach type area. And then you've got her advice to you is the universe is sending you help. Tap into your inner power and go deeper to create the powerful life you really want. So this passion that is being ignited in you because of this opportunity that you are going to get is finally going to allow you to exercise the correct tempo on how to be strong. So strong can mean wielding hard power or soft power. Okay, so there are two main ways to go about it, and basically you temper with what's in between. Okay, so allowing this side of yourself to come out, the emotional expression, is actually the side that you are missing to balance your more kind of serious, stoic, like poker face side. You need this other side to come out so you can temper between these two extremes. And will you temper? Will you go ahead? Yes, you will, because this is the movement card. You are already heading towards this emotional realm. Okay, so as you can see, this white stallion, knight in shining armor, he is his own savior. You are your own savior. Okay, so now what does Masashi say? So we got two cards from Masashi. Masashi said, both in fighting and in everyday life, you should be determined, though calm. And the second piece of advice is, meet the situation without tenseness, yet not recklessly. Your spirit settled, yet unbiased. An elevated spirit is weak and a low spirit is weak. Do not let the enemy see your spirit. Okay, let's flip these cards over and let's get a more detailed approach. So the first piece of advice is cut through the noise. Life in today's 24/7 world is full of music, pings, alerts, breaking news, FOMO, notifications, and other competing attention killers. Finding your focus amid all this noise is tough. Musashi advocated calm determination as a way to stay on path despite everything trying to push you off it. Keep calm. Don't rush to judgment. Remember that the present moment is all there is, and make the best of it. Sorry for the weird reading. I just had dinner. So I'm going through that brain fart stage again. Okay. The second piece of advice, the long version, be determined though calm. Musashi's philosophy is one of self-reliance, inner calm, acceptance, and discipline. In any confrontation, humans are affected by their fight or flight hormone. As anger and fear share the same arousal, attacking or running away will raise their heart rate and skew their judgment. For Musashi, it is essential to avoid this, to remain alert but calm and on course. Okay, so we've got this, okay? So a composed soul is not necessarily a calm one. Okay, be determined though calm. So what this is trying to tell you is divert this energy into some creative outlet. Do not suppress it, because your anima is asking you to let her out and to let her be a part of your life, to allow this aspect of yourself to grow. And part of allowing that self to grow, allowing your anima to grow, is for you to not be distracted with a multitude of so many other things that you don't give her time to come out to speak to you. So in this case especially, maybe turn down the socials a little bit. So if you're like a regular TikTok or Grammar or whatever, Twitter, like Exa, stop tweeting so much, stop pressing the notifications, except for this channel if you're signed on. Yeah, but generally just maybe just take a breather in order to reconnect with yourself, so that when you do encounter something in the future, because your anima has been fully integrated into you, like into yourself, along with this persona that you've already cultivated, you are able to handle things in a more logical, calm way that doesn't diminish your passion for life. Does that make sense? Okay, but in short form, your anima is asking for her self-expression, for you to allow her to express herself in your life by allowing your feelings and emotions to come through. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much, as always, for allowing me to read for you. And I hope you do find some sort of message or meaning or solace in this reading. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye. Welcome back, Group 3. So if you pick this combination, this is what your Animus is trying to get you to connect to. Okay, so what your Animus is like is somebody who is quite open to competitiveness, to expressing exactly what's in his mind, and can tolerate confrontation and conflict. And part of his role in your life is to get you to own up to that side of yourself, or to express that side of yourself sans guilt. Okay, so without any hesitation, to be resolute in expressing your opinion, especially when you are trying to get something done. And the underlying card here is the Hermit. Now, traditionally, the Hermit is the archetype, especially in Jungian psychology, it is this archetype of the old man. So if anybody has read Jung's Black Book and Liber Novus, he talks about Philemon. So it's the old sage archetype in our life, and we turn to this particular archetype when we seek deep guidance and advice. So it's the quote-unquote old wise man, the wizard kind of archetype in our life. So whenever you do feel as though you disagree, it is asking you to seek that inner wisdom that will ask you to confront the issue rather than hide from it. And conflict is not the only choice that you can have. However, it should be one tool in your arsenal, okay? So it should be an option that is available for you. Now, I also took the liberty to choose an artist archetype to go with this reading, and Henry Matisse fell out. I hope that's how you pronounce his name. So this kind of artist, like I said, I'm not well versed in the art world, so I'm just reading off the little booklet, but apparently he produced images like this, big, bold, exciting, fluid images. However, deep down inside who he was is a very rigid character. So he was somebody who dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and, you know, like woke up at 6, went to bed at 9, that kind of, like, he had that kind of rigidity about him, like a very Virgo personality. So it was difficult to see him through his art, but nevertheless, that's the kind of art that he chose to produce. And also, in his life, his lover, his wife would always become number 2, because art is primal. Art is his biggest love. And I suppose that's what it means to be really dedicated to something. I mean, many of us would put, well, we are taught to put a personal human relationship above what is an inanimate thing that we can have a relationship with. However, in his mind, he's firmly affixed to the notion of having love for art as being the most important relationship he'll ever engage in. And so that's kind of like a twist in perspective, especially with our current indoctrination anyway. Okay, so the life advice is unleash the beast within. So there's another tip for that, okay? So like I said, conflict is not the only avenue that you can choose, but it has to be one tool that you are prepared to use, okay? So at work, productivity, even in pajamas, and also the inspiration is sketch boldly and paint with a big stick. So this is kind of a similar twist to a believe in peace but walk around with a big stick. So it's the same thing. Express yourself in a kind of free-flowing, light way, but always be ready to defend your opinions or your beliefs, especially if it pertains to something that you hold near and dear. So your animus generally is encouraging you to stick up for yourself and to stick up for your beliefs. That's what he wants most for you to integrate into yourself so that part of you can grow. Okay, so now we've got to look at the tarot perspective or get the story on why your animus is coming forth now to give you this particular message. So let's see what's been happening in your life recently in order to trigger this aspect of yourself to want center attention. Okay, so first of all, let's get a significator for group 3. What is the significator card for group 3? Oh, 9 of Wands. Yeah, whoa. It's all matching up kind of perfectly. I mean, take a look at this card. This is what your animus is looking like. Oh, nice. Okay. Nice, nice, nice. Ready to do battle. and not willing to back down. Okay, so let's see. First card starts up the sequence. Tell me the story to group 3's life and why this Animus is trying to get group 3 to really put on some gloves and enter the boxing. Oh, okay, we've got a message. Ooh. Wow, this is kind of like the Anima reading for group number 2. Once again, lots and lots of messages. Oh, the Magician is here. Are you kidding me? Serious? 3 pages. Wow. See what's at the bottom of the deck. Wow, okay, transformation. Good on you. Okay, since we've got so many, let's take from everybody that I know of, okay? So, first of all, let's take, oh, can you believe that? Everything just fell. I've got many little mini projects going on here. So let me just put this to the side. Okay, so first of all, let's get a message from our lovely Page of... Okay, let's go for Page of Cups first. Dear Page of Cups, what do you want group 3 to know? Because this is all... Oh, okay, relationship with money. Okay, so now Page of Swords. Okay, let's use a Masashi. Page of Swords. What advice, what message do you have for group 3? What message? Oh, Masashi's speaking a lot. Group 2 just got 2 cards as well from Masashi. Okay, now let's get another strategist, Senzu. Okay, Senzu. Let's do Page of Pentacles. You've got a lot of pentacles. Seriously. Okay, Page of Pentacles. What message do you have for group 3? What do you have? Okay. Okay, so let's put this here. Okay, first of all, let's get this one. Okay, so now we're going to have a message from the Page of Cups. So as you can see, this is the beginning of the emotional realm. Okay, so there's a lot of idealism involved in the emotional realm in connection to relationships, but it seems to be in connection to money, how you feel about money. Money matters. Money matters a lot now. Watch your expenses and save up for the future. You need to be prepared for the unexpected. Ooh. Okay, so right now it seems as though you are immersed in something in which maybe money isn't the most primal thought in your mind or the most urgent thought in your mind. It seems as though you are viewing other aspects of your life to be more important. However, we've got a message to tell you to be careful of finances. Now, the Page of Swords, so your first brilliant insight into something. Once again, it's in the idealistic stage, but let's see what Masashi has to say. You must practice constantly. And second piece of advice, in all forms of strategy, it is necessary to maintain the combat stance in everyday life and to make your everyday stance your combat stance. Oh, your Animus has a lot to say. Okay, let's get into the deeper details. Okay, sorry. I was actually filming this late last night and the camera got too hot. So then everything shut down. So this is actually the next day, and I'm continuing the reading. So that's why there's going to be a disjointed section, okay? This particular section. So, where did we leave off? So yesterday we were talking about the relationship with money. Even though maybe you don't feel as though right now in your life money is such a deep concern, the message here is be prepared, be ready, because money is going to crop up. And so where we left off was the Page of Swords, okay? So the detailed advice from the Page of Swords is practice makes perfect. Learning something new is hard. In fact, it is said to take 10,000 hours to become an expert, but a more realistic 20 hours, that's 45 minutes a day for a month to become pretty good. Whatever you are aiming at, practice, get feedback, and make adjustments. More practice trumps intellectual understanding every time. Practice is an essential ingredient to the improvement of all of life's skills and behaviors. The second expanded advice is be prepared at all times. Here, Musashi is not advocating that you should be ready to fight at the drop of a hat. On the contrary, he is suggesting that you develop your combat stance, turning it into a zone of calm in which you have emotional domination. In doing so, you will most likely avoid confrontation. You are less likely to provoke others, but if you do, you will be prepared. Okay, and now we've got the message from the Page of Pentacles. So, Sun Tzu says, all warfare is based on deception. When able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. So the expanded message is don't be fooled. The word deception doesn't mean lying or deceiving people with evil intent. Magicians, secret Santa presents, or surprise parties use good deception. So deception is not inherently bad or good, but we are exposed to it every day in politics, advertising, books, and movies. Sun Tzu says you need to be able to understand deception to be skilled in seeing through it. Okay, just by this alone, okay, you've got a lot of pages are basically the initiation of the process of after having an idea or an opportunity appear, and it is the initial stance where you are filled with hope and optimism for this particular thing. So remember here, it was talking about positive deception as a magician, and coincidentally, look what the next card is, the Magician. So like I was saying, tarot has this amazing synchronicity thing that everything just works out. So what it is here, this is clearly a reading that mainly predominantly has to do with your career, the way that you are showing up at the workplace or in your own business, basically. It looks as though the transformation of yourself is coming, and your Animus is encouraging you to push forth with this transformation. You are at the beginning of this new project that you are going to embark on, and everything that you need, the inspiration and the basic tools that you need to turn this into a successful project is already here. Underlying this is a lot of patient, hard work, but you're ready for it, because if you take a look at this farmer, the cattle of some sort is already plowing the fields. So, and look, the rose is symbolic of growth. Okay, so you've got roses here. Generally, the red rose also implies dedication. It can mean of course it means love, passion as well. But the flip side of Isis, I think, is Artemis. So it's also like the warrior fighter energy. So be prepared that things are not going to go 100% smoothly. However, you will see progress. And over here, what is underlying this Magician card, where you can start, where there are resources available, is the juggling of basically two things. As you can see, this kind of lemniscate formation, okay, this kind of infinity symbol wraps itself around two pentacles. So you are going to have to make adjustments. So maybe at this stage, there could be like a private, I mean, whenever we start working on something new, especially on the career front, or when we're trying to like move ahead with a financial plan, there are going to be adjustments made, especially towards family, kin, and our emotional acceptance of this new thing that we're going to pursue. So that's what you're going to balance, these two aspects, either family and your work project, or just the emotional release or the emotional kind of new challenge of accepting that you have a certain responsibility to attend to and you must show up. Okay. So yeah, your Animus is speaking to you in a very, very loud voice. He's got a lot of things to say. Namely, one, you have to have an attack strategy. It doesn't mean that conflict is the way to go, but it should be a tool in your arsenal. That's the most important thing. And also brace yourself for this transformation that is coming to you in order for you to handle this new project that you are going to embark on. You'll be more well equipped to handle the challenges that are coming your way. And this Hermit card is actually the collection of wisdom. And part of that wisdom means learning how you, quote unquote, fight best. So there are certain strategies that we all can use that like coincide with our temperament, the way that we would like to conduct ourselves. And your Animus is asking you to allow him to come forth so that he can prepare the fight in you should that case ever arise. So it's always better to be prepared than unprepared, so you don't panic. Okay, so you've got a fighting strategy ready. Okay, so that's all I have from your Animus to you today, and I hope it did give you a new viewpoint. I'm actually very impressed with your Animus. He's got a lot of things to say. So thank you very much as always for letting me read for you, and I hope your new project goes smashingly well, and I hope you allow your Animus to come up and do his job for you and you integrate. Okay, so thank you very much for dropping by. Bye. Welcome back, group 4. So if you pick this combination, this is what your Animus is dying to tell you. Okay, so first of all, sorry about this. I had to conceal this because there's a breast showing. But your Animus fundamentally wants you to keep your thought process or the things that you think about in harmony and in balance. Now, okay, so let me preface this with a little bit of an explanation. My guess on this alone, just by what the cards fell out, the cards that fell out, is that you're a kind of woman who is actually already quite strong. So I've done this for a few people who are interested in Jungian psychology and myself, and I've found that women like me, I'm actually very resilient, and I basically have my crap on. Okay, so I've got all my ducks in a row, and I plan ahead, and I do all those traditionally assigned masculine thought processes. Okay, so becoming an astrologer and doing tarot is maybe the only exotic or woo-woo thing that I've done in my life. Everything else is like very careful planning, thinking a decade ahead type of stuff. So generally, the women who are very like analytical and logical and resilient. I mean, I'm not saying these are not natural female characteristics, but the predominant assignment is the masculine traits. They come up with an Animus reading that is quite feminine. And so my guess is this particular group, if you chose this, you are already very analytical and logical. And maybe you hold the bulk of responsibility at home or at the workplace. So it seems as though your thinking process anyway, it doesn't matter what you look like, because I'm actually quite petite. So It doesn't matter what you physically look like. You've got the emotional resilience of quote unquote a man. And so your animus is maybe more kind of more feminine. And because I say this simply because the underlying card with your harmony and balanced projection is this Empress card. And as an archetype, the Empress is the Great Mother. So the Great Mother is the longing that we have for that all-round nurturer. So everyone from the Virgin Mary to Mother Teresa, and even in like those American sitcoms, like we've got the modern day version, like in Modern Family, for example, say the Julie Bowen character, Claire Dunphy. Okay, so she works, she manages 3 kids, she's got enough wit and banter for her caustic father and her like goofy husband and her constant rivalry with Gloria, etc. So she's got, like, she's basically well-rounded. Okay, like she's got her fair share of problems, but she balances everything else, like she balances all these things well. So that's the like Great Mother archetype. The artist archetype that I got, the card that fell out, was Cindy Sherman. Now, she apparently is an American artist who dons on many disguises at her own exhibitions, and basically no one knows she's there. And part of her shtick is being able to occupy a space that she's not naturally born into. So undergoing many different disguises and trying to maybe in some ways have empathy and sympathy for those who are different from her. And so here she plays many different archetypes herself, like the urban mom, the sophisticated like brain surgeon, etc. So she's trying to fit many different roles. So her life advice is, don't be yourself, be yourselves, plural. And at work, tell the truth in every fiction. And the inspiration is, take a good long look in someone else's mirror. So my guess is your animus is asking you to balance or harmonize your judgment in terms of how you perceive others and also how you perceive the many facets of yourself. So that's the thing that you need to align, and that's what your animus is encouraging you to do, is embrace those your multiple personalities and sides. Okay, at least that's what it feels like. However, let's get tarot to do a more detailed in-depth reading on what your current situation is in order for your animus to come up with this particular message for you. Okay, so first of all, let's get a significator card for this reading. So what's the significator for group 4? Significator for group 4. Oh, 4 of Pentacles. Beautiful. Okay, so you've got this bull there, hard at work, toiling. Okay, but there is an element of stubbornness there. And, you know, traditionally it's like a piggy bank, but over here you've got like a cattle bank of some sort. So hard at work, but there's also maybe an like staunchness to the way that you perceive life, and maybe some sort of rigid life stance as well, especially towards the way that you handle finances maybe. Okay, so let's see what else. Okay, first card that falls starts the series. Tell me what's happening in group 4's life. Oh, beautiful. That's a gorgeous card. Okay, so I think he's okay because nothing's showing. Okay. Oh, okay, there we go. Oh. Okay, let's see what's at the bottom. Oh, wow. Okay, so I've actually kept, and this is so fitting, what I was talking about, the different facets of yourself. Okay, this particular deck is actually quite unique in that it's doubled up on the Nine of Wands, and it's giving you like a perspective change, like which one do you prefer? It's more primal versus a more kind of updated or like commercially acceptable image versus this one, but it's the same energy, and that's what I was talking about here before. Now we do need a message because we've got the Eight of Wands here, so let me get an oracle deck to see. Oh, I just cannot make this up. The synchronicities are wild. This is exactly the same energy with a different embodiment. And that's what it's asking. Cindy Sherman is saying, don't be yourself, be yourselves. Wow. Okay, so what's the message? What's the Eight of Wands? What news is coming to group 4? What news is coming to group 4? Oops, no. What news is coming to group 4? Oh, fell right out. Fell right out there. Okay, so the message is keep going. You may feel as though you've been on this path or journey for so long, and you may even wonder if you're making any progress toward your dreams. This message is a loving reminder for you to keep going. You're almost there. Oh, that's when the celebration is. Okay. Okay, so currently, what has been happening is that you've been working very hard and you've been saving up for something. You've been saving up for something. So it could be monetary, so it can be for a material thing, or it could be saving up for like a loftier aspiration. And what I mean by that is, for example, delaying immediate pleasure for something long term. For example, you want to improve on your health, so now instead of vegging out on the couch, you know, every Sunday, I mean rightfully the day of rest, you decide that you're going to spend at least 30 minutes pounding on the pavement of some sort, or you're going to do some Pilates or something like that. And so moving towards something, but you've been saving up for something, okay? So you've been working hard and putting in effort. And right now, you have been through a phase where you are seeing progress, definitely. You're monitoring this thing really well. Things are growing here, and there is enough inspiration to keep you going. However, at this stage now, you are beginning to feel a little of the bondage that comes with that. Now, so this is what I mean, guilt. Okay, let's go back with the getting fit analogy that I just had before. So in the beginning, you made a conscious decision to spend maybe 30 minutes of your weekend to health, dedicate yourself to health rather than sitting on the couch and doom scrolling or whatever. Now, however, there is guilt associated with that. So maybe if you don't do those 30 minutes now, you begin to berate yourself, or you begin to feel, oh, why am I slacking off? And you begin to feel those lumps and bumps that you feel is there, but possibly imaginary. And so now there's a little bit of an association that if you don't do this thing that initially you embarked on just because you wanted to, now it's connected to something else. And so the message here is keep on going, because even though you feel as though you've been doing this for quite some time and maybe you're not seeing the results, you are going to see the results. And it's going to be either one, something that you can call your friends upon and have this kind of celebration. Maybe there is a milestone that you are going to be able to reach. Or if it's not, then internally you're going to feel like there's a celebration coming through. Okay, now, however, the next step onwards is this particular thing that you've been working on is going to bring about a new start to something else. However, this new thing that you are going to, or this new phase in your life, causes this particular shift dynamic, which is what I was talking about here. Okay, so the side that you need to grow of yourself is this duality or this twinning of a particular way that you present yourself. So over here with Cindy Sherman, she is Cindy Sherman. However, she can also be all these other archetypes. She can play all these archetypes, whether convincingly or not. That's another question to consider. But yeah, she can fake it till she makes it, basically. She can don on a disguise and people will believe she is this character. And this is what you need to do. So traditionally, the Nine of Wands is basically a card where you do feel a sense of responsibility towards this thing, this project that you've engaged in or launched, at least in your mind. And now there's two ways that you can continue, basically. So one is au naturel. So you can front up exactly as you are and continue with this project or responsibility, or you can dress it up with a pretty ribbon and a bow. But these sides need to be harmonized and balanced in your mind. Okay, so you've got to be comfortable with playing both characters. So let's see if I can get something more concrete, because right now I know, because you've got a lot of wand energy here, which means it's a passion project of some sort, okay? But, and you've been doing this for a while because you've been saving up for quite some time. Like I was saying, either finances or you've been delaying gratification. And now the Magician has actually appeared, which means there's a new opportunity for you to begin something new from this. Okay, please tell me, what is group 4 going to do? Why is group 4's Animus asking group 4 to, oh, wow. That's a huge message there, the way that flew out. Okay, the future. Plan for the future while living in the present. You are always supported by spirit. Your psychic abilities can bring you prosperity. All right. Okay. Yeah, this is the Magician here. Okay, so yeah. Whatever it is that you are doing, this particular engagement, it is in a stage of growth. But that's not all. It's in a stage of growth and initiation for the next phase. And these two facets of yourself have to be balanced for that new phase. Okay, so you've got to be able to present yourself as you are and be ready to wrap things in a pretty bow for the masses. Okay, so let me give you a very concrete example. I actually really love history and politics and philosophy. And now I'm embarking on mythology because I realize how important mythology is, like fairy tales and things like that in our life. Whereas traditionally, I never paid attention to fairy tales because I thought, they're just fluff. But now I realize how important that actually is. And so, and also fairy tales are more digestible than hardcore history. So this is what I'm beginning to understand, that instead of doing, I mean, I'm still not popular, don't get me wrong, this isn't working for me, hey, but it may work for you. So instead of going full like geek mode in talking about the hard aspects of history, it's easier to convey my message through certain stories that I'm just beginning to learn, which may be second nature to you, because maybe you are a lover of fiction, whereas I'm a lover of non-fiction. However, I'm trying to shift myself towards loving fiction because now I understand its relevance. And I think that's what it means for you too. In your version of what comes naturally to you, you have to be ready to dress it up and tie a pretty bow around it to make it more consumable for the masses or for your particular industry. And that's what it means by being able to wear different disguises. And that's what your Animus is asking you to do, because that's the key to unlocking success for you in the future. Wow, lovely. And I can't believe this happened. This is just too weird, because I deliberately leave all the card choices in all the decks. I mean, some deck creators have more than the 78 cards and they ask you to take it out, but I always leave everything in because I realize that they do have their purposes. And in this case, we have a wonderful synchronicity to match what your Animus is trying to tell you to do, which is be prepared to front up as you are and be prepared to have a different version of yourself to impart the same message. Okay, so that's all I have for you today, and thank you as always for allowing me to read for you, and I hope to see you again in the future. Bye. Okay, this is an in-depth special message for those of you who have selected group 4 and who don't just necessarily want the first superficial reading. So this is Liber Novus. This is one of the precious books that I hold. It's the red book by C.G. Jung. And so if you remember the card spread, in the beginning, we've got the Two of Swords, and underlying that is the Empress, which is the Great Mother archetype. And then towards the end, we had the Nine of Wands. Underlying that was the Magician. So this particular reading is actually very special. I don't have a very practical thoughts on this because I have very limited experience with the tarot in terms of Anima and Animus analysis. But I had noticed what I already said before, that particularly masculine thinking traits in the woman would result in a more feminine Animus. And let me just read you this particular blurb. So this is on my Kindle, and this is from Jung's Black Book. So I just had something cooking, so you might have heard a ding sound. Okay, so having the Great Mother archetype and the Magician archetype is actually a very important point. So group 4 out of the 4 choices that we have, 2 Anima, 2 Animuses, is actually probably very close to integrating the Animus within their psyche and becoming whole. Okay, so let me read this part, okay? After one has achieved the integration of the Anima, one was confronted with another figure, namely the Mana personality. Jung argued that when the Anima lost her Mana or power, the man who assimilated it must have acquired this, and so become a Mana personality, a being of superior will and wisdom. However, this figure was a dominant of the collective unconscious, the recognized archetype of the powerful man in the form of hero, chief, magician, medicine man, saint, the lord of men, spirits, the friend of gods. Thus, in integrating the Anima and attaining her power, one inevitably identified with the figure of the magician, and one faced the task of differentiating oneself from this. He added that for women, the corresponding figure was that of the Great Mother. If one gave up the claim to victory over the Anima possession by the figure of the Okay, I just bungled that up, so sorry. If one gave up the claim to victory over the anima, possession by the figure of the magician ceased, and one realized that the manner truly belonged to the midpoint of the personality, that is, the self. The assimilation of the contents of the manner personality led to the self. So of the self, he wrote, it might as well be called the God in us. So out of the 4 groups, if you picked group 4, you are very close if you haven't already reached true individuation. It means that both your masculine psyche and you, the female embodiment of, have actually made an alchemical marriage of sorts. And now, just to further on, let's further my geekiness, I'm going to read you a little bit about the magician in this red book. And trust me, this is not something that you want to carry in your bag for light reading, because it's heavy. This is thick. This book is thick. Okay, so let me just turn to the page of the magician here. Okay, so if you do know a little bit about Jung's work, Philemon is the wise old man or the sage character archetype that appears to him and gives him guidance through this process of transcendence. Okay, so this is after a while, towards the end of the course, he comes in contact with the magician archetype again, and of course it's actually Philemon. After a long search, I found a small house in the country fronted by a large bed of tulips. This is where Philemon, the magician, lives with his wife, Baucis. Philemon is one of those old magicians who has not yet managed to banish old age, but who lives it with dignity, and his wife can only do the same. Their interests seem to have become narrow, even childish. They water their bed of tulips and tell each other about the flowers that have newly appeared, and their days fade into a pale, wavering chiaroscuro lit up by the past, only slightly frightened of the darkness of what is to come. Okay, so as you can see, once the integration occurs, there's a level of calmness. There's no more struggle, in essence. There's an acceptance of life. And once again, you return to this state of innocence, but except this time it's laced with wisdom. So, and as for abandoning the hero motive, so we are all familiar these days with the hero journey, but we don't really understand what happens after you complete the hero's journey successfully. And this is what Jung goes on to say, that there's no more need for that hero concept. Okay, so I'm just going to read from this part. Are you lonely, O Philemon? I see no entourage and no companions around you. Baucis is your only other half. You live with flowers, trees, and birds, but not with men. Should you not live with men? Are you still a man? Do you want nothing from men? Do you not see how they stand together and, concoct rumors and childish fairy tales about you? Do you not want to go to them and say that you are a man and a mortal as they are, and that you want to love them? Oh, Philemon, you laugh. I understand you. Just now I ran into your garden and wanted to tear out of you what I had to understand from within myself. Okay, so nothing else to prove. So when true integration of the animus occurs within you, you become so self-sufficient that living with yourself doesn't pose any threat in terms of loneliness. And this is where we can truly understand for the first time the difference between solitude and loneliness. So group 4, if you are staying here for this message, you've got to pat yourself on the back somewhat, because in terms of Jungian psychology, you've pretty much reached the lofty state of being one with yourself. So congratulations.